This $110,000 Tesla is now a $12,000 nightmare case study. What if I told you that a car once worth $110,000 is now barely worth 12 grand? What if I told you this wasn't a flood-damaged wreck or some abandoned junkyard relic, but a luxury electric icon, a Tesla Model S Performance, once advertised as the future of transportation? And what if I told you the owner didn't crash it, didn't neglect it, didn't abuse it, but simply owned it? Welcome to one of the most shocking modern case studies of luxury tech decay. In today's documentary, we're diving deep into the nightmare of a $110,000 Tesla that collapsed into a $12,000 liability, how it happened, why it happened, and what this teaches us about the high-stakes gamble of owning aging electric vehicles. From battery catastrophes and software locks to repair quotes that make German luxury cars look cheap. This is the true cost of the future. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll never look at a used Tesla the same way again. Let's begin. Heading 1. The Tesla Dream. Why this Model S was supposed to be the one. Back in 2018, this Tesla Model S Performance wasn't just a car. It was a statement. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. Autopilot capabilities years ahead of the competition. A minimalist interior with a screen that made Mercedes and BMW look prehistoric. When the owner drove it home, the neighborhood kids would gather around like it was a spaceship. This was the era when Tesla was still seen as untouchable, the golden child of Silicon Valley innovation. People didn't buy Teslas just for performance. They bought them for identity. You weren't purchasing a vehicle. You were buying into the future. You were saying, I don't need gasoline, I don't need tradition, I have tech. And this Model S, loaded with every premium feature imaginable, was one of the most expensive consumer Teslas you could buy. Heading 2. The first warning sign. A declining range. That no mechanic could fix at around year 5, subtle problems began to appear. Nothing dramatic, just a slow shrinking of the range bar. Instead of the usual 300+ miles on a full charge, it began dipping to 260, then 240, then 220. At first, the owner chalked it up to age. All batteries degrade, he thought. It's normal. Except EV batteries don't just slowly fade like phone batteries, they hit sudden cliffs. And because Tesla doesn't provide traditional diagnostics, he couldn't just check the battery. Instead, he relied on vague app warnings and a service center that preferred remote resets over real answers. The owner brought it in multiple times, only to hear the same thing. It's performing within normal parameters. Heading 3. The day everything went wrong. When the battery finally gave up, it happened overnight, literally. One evening, the owner parked the car with 150 miles of range. The next morning, 0. The dash displayed a terrifying message. Maximum battery charge level reduced. Service required. Attempts to charge it did nothing. Supercharger? Dead. Home charger? Dead. Portable charger? Nothing. The car simply refused to accept energy. For a vehicle fully dependent on electricity, this was equivalent to an engine seizure. And the quote? Brace yourself, $22,500. For a car already 7 years old. A car already out of warranty. A car now worth barely more than the repair price. That's when the nightmare truly began. Heading 4. The impossible repair, quote, when a battery costs more than the car itself. Imagine owning a luxury car whose engine suddenly dies. Now imagine the manufacturer telling you that a replacement engine will cost almost a quarter of what you originally paid and double what the car itself is worth today. That's the EV dilemma. Tesla quoted $22,500 for a battery swap, not including towing, diagnostics, or labor. Even worse, they offered no refurbished or cheaper alternative, no partial repair, no modular service, just pay the full amount or the car is unusable. Heading 5. Tesla's locked software, turning a broken car into an even bigger liability. Here's something Tesla owners rarely talk about. Even when the hardware fails, the software keeps punishing you. With the battery fried, many of the car's digital systems began restricting access. No remote climate control, no mobile diagnostics, no scheduled charging. Even basic features like unlocking certain menus became disabled. In this case, the owner couldn't even move the car without triggering safety warnings. And since the battery couldn't accept a charge, the 12-volt system kept dying too. That meant jump-starting the auxiliary battery every few days just to operate the doors or windows. A dead gasoline car just sits there. A dead Tesla still drains electricity. Constantly. Heading 6. The desperate search for non-Tesla repair shops. With Tesla's quote being financially insane, the owner began exploring third-party EV repair specialists. And while independent Tesla shops are slowly growing across the US and Europe, they face massive hurdles. Parts scarcity, limited diagnostic access, and Tesla's locked software ecosystem. One shop estimated they could rebuild the failing battery modules, but only if they could find compatible parts, and only if Tesla hadn't software locked the pack. Another shop offered a refurbished battery for $12,000, but it came with no long-term guarantee. After weeks of searching, the owner realized something horrifying. Even third-party mechanics agreed the car was worth less than the repair. Heading 7. Depreciation from hell. How a $110,000 car dropped to $12,000 luxury cars always depreciate. Everyone knows that. But EV depreciation, specifically high-end Teslas, can be brutal in a way gasoline cars rarely experience. Because once a car's battery reaches the end of its usable life, its value doesn't just drop, it collapses. Dealers weren't offering more than $10,000. Private buyers offered $8,000 or less, knowing they'd have to replace the battery themselves. Some buyers openly said, "We'll only buy it for parts." Once the pack dies, the car's value isn't tied to luxury, design, or even performance. It's tied solely to the cost of making it move again. And for older Teslas, that cost can exceed their worth. This is the cliff Tesla owners fear. Heading 8. The hidden problem. Tesla's parts, lockdown, and repair monopoly. Behind the curtain of this nightmare lies a controversial truth. Tesla controls nearly every component of its vehicles. Unlike traditional automakers, Tesla doesn't allow open access to diagnostics, repair manuals, or many replacement parts. Even basic components like door handles and MCU screens are tightly locked behind Tesla's proprietary ordering system. So when the battery failed, it wasn't just expensive, it was almost impossible to fix without Tesla's approval. Independent shops couldn't order new battery modules. They couldn't access the car's full diagnostic codes. And Tesla refuses to sell certain parts to anyone except its own service centers. Heading 9. The owner's final decision, cutting the losses. After months of fighting diagnostics, repair quotes, software lockouts, and rapidly declining value, the owner had to face reality. The car wasn't worth saving. Paying $22,500 for a battery on a $12,000 car made zero financial sense. Selling it for parts was the only rational option. And that's exactly what happened. The once powerful 762 horsepower electric super sedan was sold to a dismantler for $12,000. Heading 10. What this case study reveals about the future of EV ownership. This nightmare Tesla story isn't an isolated tragedy. It's a preview of the future. As the first wave of Teslas ages beyond their battery warranties, thousands of owners will face the same dilemma. Pay more for a battery than the car is worth, or sell it for scraps. This raises uncomfortable questions. What happens when EVs become the majority and battery replacements become a standardized cost? Will the average car owner be able to afford these repairs? Will governments step in? Will independent repair shops win their fight for right to repair? This $110,000 Tesla didn't just fail. It revealed the fault lines of the entire electric revolution. Before you buy a used EV, watch this again. Before we wrap up, here's the real takeaway. Owning futuristic technology comes with futuristic risks. This $110,000 Tesla was a dream, a symbol, a slice of Silicon Valley magic. But when the magic faded, what remained was a $12,000 shell of metal and software. If you're thinking about buying a used Tesla or any aging EV, don't skip the homework. Check the battery health, research the model year, understand the repair costs, and know exactly what you're stepping into. Because the future is exciting, but the future is expensive. If you found this documentary eye-opening, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone looking to buy a used EV. You might just save them tens of thousands of dollars. This has been your deep dive into the $110,000 Tesla that collapsed into a $12,000 nightmare. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. And always, always research before you buy.